It's after 7 p.m. This is our regularly scheduled city council meeting being held this Tuesday, February 17th. We are here in council chambers. We are live streaming on YouTube, and our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll.
Mr. Abernathy. Mr. Gaffey.
Here.
Mr. Huzet.
Here.
Mr. Malta.
Here.
Mr. Owens.
Here.
Mr. Paul.
Here.
Ms. Borden. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We did know that Mr. Abernathy was going to be gone this evening, and the agenda will remain as presented. At this time, I'll ask you to stand with the members of City Council and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Good.
So moved by Ms. Warden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaffey. All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Communications from the mayor. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. Just a few notes from events since our last meeting. February 3rd, Phil Tursky set up a meeting with the Triway third graders. We went out and visited that class. They were talking about how cities got formed and built, so I'll have more on that in a second. But that was a nice event. That same day, we received official confirmation that ODOT was receiving $3.75 million in federal funds. You may have seen the articles on that in the paper. We had heard that before. We were told that that was on the way, but as I understand, I think, what's the saying, many a slip between the cup and the lip. And so until it was actually announced, I think we were a little fingers crossed, but now it is official, and that money is available for what they're calling the Wooster Bell Avenue Safety Improvement Project, which is the hospital corridor there. And I want to thank Senator Houston for his help in making that happen. Don't intend to be political here, but if one of our elected officials at the state or federal level brings tax dollars back to our city, I want to give them recognition for that fact, and he's the one that gets credit for that one. February 4th, we had a Wooster Growth meeting. A reminder, I guess, for our new council members, I guess Tyler is a brand new one, but Wooster Growth is made up of representatives from City Council, from the administration, from the school district, from two of our economic development partners being WEDC and the Chamber, as well as 3 at-large members from the community. Wooster Growth reviewed the CR application that's before us tonight and voted unanimously to recommend that council approve it. But again, a reminder, because this has come up in the past, it's only a recommendation. So just like a planning commission recommendation on a zoning change, the decision is ultimately council's to make. February 6th, Joel and I met with the schools. We had Superintendent Tudor, Treasurer Amy Welty, and the board president there. We basically talked over the historic use of CRAs and TIFs and tried to find some common ground there. And I think it was a good meeting, both sides. We didn't agree on everything, but I think we agreed on most everything. So going forward, I think we got a pretty good idea of what things are probably going to need some further discussion and what things probably will be almost automatic, I should say. So I feel good about that, and I think they came away feeling good too. If nothing else, we had a good understanding of where we disagreed. February 6th, we also had our quarterly meeting with the Wayne County Commissioners. We have a couple joint projects in the pipeline that not many big ones from the city standpoint, but for the people that they affect, that they're nice ones, and we'll share more on that later as they come to, if they come to pass. February 10th, I had my first State of the City presentation. That went to the Kiwanis Club. Just to run down that quickly, looking ahead, giving a very abbreviated version of that Thursday morning at the WDC meeting. And then next Monday, the full thing to Rotary. And then in 2 weeks, we have the presentation to City Council. So you'll get the most polished version. So that's good. And I think Mr. Sanders is going to tell us whether the intent is for us to meet early that night at 6:30 or whether he wants to make that part of the initial.
Yeah, we'll meet at 6:30.
Okay. February 10th, we also had a meeting at the Main Street offices with Lindsay Glaze from the Glaze Foundation. They are out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and the foundation has its roots with the parent company that now owns GNS Titanium. And they are doing a lot of funding around in places where their company is located for different civic improvement projects. And they've come through with a grant for the Arts District. So we wanted to be there to meet her and thank her and answer questions she might have. I know the jail tours were being offered different days, so if you did attend, you didn't necessarily go that day, but February 10th had to be the day that I was there, and I know Joel was there that day as well, so I had an opportunity to go through that. I'm sure they are looking forward to getting that project complete and moving in so they can start work. I think if you're familiar with the setup there, as soon as the first step is going to be to transfer all the existing jail population into the new facility. Then they're going to get to work on remodeling the existing jail. So they've made a lot of progress, but they still have a long way to go before that project is complete. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we did open houses for the 3 separate ribbon cuttings for the new emergency room addition to the Wooster Community Hospital. Again, I want to point out that Senator Al Landis did a lot of hard work in getting Ohio funds as part of that project, and Meredith Craig as well, and she's currently working to secure funds from the Federal Rural Healthcare Transformation Program. You may have read some about that. It's an initiative, part of the big, beautiful bill to get more money to rural health programs. And just having said that, and you'd think, well, we're in a rural area, so we ought to be an automatic. That's not the case. So she is fighting to see that some of those funds making their way to Wooster Community Hospital, so we hope so. But going back to the emergency room addition, I hope you had a chance to go through there. It is really spectacular, and again, it's one of those additions, you're not going to see anything like it or of an equivalent scale probably in our lifetimes. It's that much of a kind of a game changer for the way they do business there. So nice addition for our community, nice addition for the hospital. February 13th, Joel and I had a meeting with the Main Street Wooster leadership group to talk about strategic planning. This is just kind of normal and customary strategic planning for the organization, but they're doing that, and we want to make sure that they've got a lot of different constituents. They have the community, they have the merchants downtown, and we represent the city and the city administration, so shared our thoughts on where we believe the important issues to be. Then just yesterday, if you drove by or in the neighborhood, demolition began at Christmas Run Pool, so hopefully you had a chance to see that. This morning I had a breakfast meeting with Dr. McCall from the college. Obviously they've got some things going on there, so it's quite interesting there. And this afternoon, Landry McLeod and I met with Dr. Warren Dick and Katie Holmes regarding our Friendship Cities agreement with Waliso, Ethiopia. And I came away with this, which looks like a bedspread, but it is an Oromo cultural scarf. So very interesting, and there may or may not be photos floating around of me wrapped up in that. And if Andre gets cold, I'm going to wrap him up right here. Looking ahead, Thursday, I think I mentioned this, WDC is doing their annual, I think it's this time point an annual event with the elected officials. U.S. Representative Miller, Ohio Senator Landis, Representative Meredith Craig, Commissioners Hosteller and McMillan, and Mayors Plyman and Arnold from Orville and Rittman, respectively. We're all going to share the podium or maybe in 2 shifts, but I guess they're expecting close to 300 people to be in attendance, so it should be a nice event. Thursday is also the Buckeye Ag Museum open house, And I think it's the Farm Bureau annual meeting, I think it's part of that. Is that right, Jen? I think Jen's my source there. Friday also, we're having Friday we're having the Fiesta Friday luncheon. It's our annual winter luncheon for the city. Councils, I think, should all have invites, so hopefully some of you will be able to attend. That's always a nice event. In addition to just a little bit of fellowship, we do the recognitions for years of service at that event, so that's a nice time. Next Wednesday is the Wayne County Mayor's meeting at Wayne County Schools Career Center. Again, this has been going on for about a year now. I think we meet quarterly, and it's a good time to meet with other mayors in the county. The next night, we have the chamber dinner. I'll be attending that. March 2nd is the annual Wayne Health District Advisory Council meeting, and I'll bring back materials from that. It's always a good snapshot about kind of a picture of the county and different stats on different health issues. Some of them are a little staggering, a little dismaying a little bit, but it's good information to have. And that's all I've got. Anything you want to add?
If you don't mind, just a couple of things. I will mention going to both the jail open house and the emergency center open house within 2 days of each other. It was striking how similar the layouts were for both, being a central desk and glass walled rooms surrounding it. That's about where the similarities ended, but it was a similar layout, probably, hopefully, some different clientele there. I wanted to call out a couple things from the update I sent out on Friday. Bob already mentioned that the Christmas Run Pool demolition started. The East Milltown Rail Melrose Shared Use Path is scheduled to start this month as well, and they're currently moving utilities for that. They also added, in an effort just to be, try to get more information out to the public, get more feedback. John Rice in our engineering division is going to be doing an open house for all the projects planned. That's from 12 to 6 on Monday, February 23rd, so it's an open house, come and go. They'll be set up in here to answer questions, get information, and get feedback on all the projects we have scheduled for this year. So I think that's thankful for that. I did also include one final thing on our snow removal operations this year. Kurt had mentioned that we hauled out from in and around the downtown about 400 loads of snow. And on average, based on the amount of time to do those hauling and the fuel, it's about $50 a load, so a little over $20,000 just removing snow. That doesn't count any of the plowing and salting, and that's just removing the snow after the fact. So that's quite a bit of snow to remove there. I did want to point out that on March 5th, it'll be the final plan development approval at the Planning Commission for it's the Weaver Home subdivision. It's single, duplex, triplex, townhome type subdivision. I believe it's like 84 units. That's right there at the Burbank, Friendsville, just north of Ullman, south of Bueller. So that one's moving forward. Hopefully get its final approval at that meeting. And I think that was just about the last thing I wanted to mention. I think the rest of what was in here are things that will be on your agenda tonight. So you'll be talking about those in a little more detail. Thank you.
Looking at the agenda, we have 3 items on second reading as a result of our inability to suspend the rules at their last meeting. 4 new pieces of legislation on first reading. Only the last item, 2026-08, is budgeted. The first 3 are not, and they would require either 3 readings or a suspension of the rules. Finally, I want to go back to my Triway experience, and really nice group of kids and nice teachers, and it was in the new building, and very nice to talk to. I've always said, I think I try every opportunity I have to talk about how humbled I am to have this position, and consider it quite an honor. But if you don't have that humble attitude going in, at least once a month, if not more often, something's going to come along and humble you. And this was one of those experiences. So I told you that, they wanted to hear about the early history of Wooster. So I'm getting them started saying, okay, who do you think the first people to settle Wooster or in this area were. And, you know, I'm trying to steer them towards Native Americans, but I kind of stumped them on that, and finally, there's a couple hands raised, and somebody said, Mr. Wooster. And I had to digress and tell them a little bit about, you know, how he was a Revolutionary War general that really never even came to Ohio, but that's who we're named after. So I said, before the Revolutionary War, before General Wooster, who do you think was here before all that? And a kid, you know, his hands up, I know. And I call him, and he looks me in the eye and says, you? So, and, you know, I wanted to share that story for two things. First of all, Phil Tursky's gotten so much delight out of sharing that story in the last 10 weeks, but I wanted to deny him the ability to tell it to your group. But also, you know, the kids are a lot of fun. I really appreciate the opportunity to go out there. So with that, Mr. President, it's all yours.
All right, thank you very much. As we move on, we have petitions related to a liquor request, which at this point, we have seen, this is now the third time. And before we go any further with that, we'll have Ms. Hamilton read it for us.
The liquor control request is for a new C2 license for Bell Stores, Inc., Bell Store number 1168, located at 4776 Cleveland Road, Worcester. A C2 permit allows for wine and mixed beverages in sealed containers for carryout.
And we have three options as we had the first two times, which is to either have a hearing in Columbus, have a hearing here in town, or to waive a hearing. So do I have a motion on which of those three choices we would prefer to have?
Move to waive.
Second.
Second, first and a second on that. All in favor of waiving the hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And hopefully this will be the last time we'll see this. We do have someone signed up to speak, but I'm assuming, Mr. Starlin, you're just going to hold your comments until the actual piece of legislation, or do you wish to speak now?
I'll wait.
Okay. All right. We have no committee reports and we have no public hearings. So with that, we will move into our first piece of unfinished business, ordinance 2026-03. Ms. Hamilton, please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2026-03, an ordinance amending Chapter 925 storm drainage of the codified ordinances of the City of Wooster, Ohio.
Mr. Fizet, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this is pretty cut and dry, and we touched on this at the last meeting. Just a request to update the storm drainage utility charges and rates section of the city ordinances, and this just kind of dovetailed off of the zoning changes that we approved at the last meeting, and this just kind of brings those charges and those rates in line with the changes to the residential zoning code. Pretty cut and dry. I was just going to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay, motion to suspend rules. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Warden. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Huzet?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Okay, the rules have been suspended. Mr. Fizet?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Warden. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Huzet?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Warden?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our next item, ordinance 2026-04. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2026-04, an ordinance amending Chapter 160 bidding procedures and contract requirements, Section 160.03 bidding procedures of the codified ordinances of the City of Wooster, Ohio, by increasing the competitive bidding threshold in accordance with Section 9.17 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Thank you. Mr. Paul, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you. This piece of legislation is designed to make the bidding process more efficient and ultimately save in costs. Recently, the bidding process needed approval with $50,000. A couple years ago, it's my understanding we moved it to $75,000. The concerns with inflation currently being higher than normal and costs increasing quickly, the state of Ohio has given us some guidance, and for each calendar year thereafter, the amount shall be an amount for the previous calendar year increased by a flat 3% as determined and published by the Director of the Ohio Department of Commerce in accordance with code. So that's, Joel, do you have anything you want to add to that? Okay. So I did have a couple of you say you wanted to have a chance to talk about this evening, so fire away.
I do have some comments to make. I do want to yield caution to this particular piece of legislation for a multitude of reasons, but maybe the biggest one is we just raised the limit in 2024 to $75,000. This council body was elected to control our spending here in the city of Worcester, and we are a charter city, which means we don't adopt the state processing, which is probably a good thing for our taxpayers. And our taxpayers, again, have elected us to control that spending. The concerns are adopting this state reg, yes, I understand inflation quite well, but it takes some of the things out of this council's hands, and we give up the purse strings per se. And then, an example of that is at this point in the state of Ohio, there's an awful lot of fraud accusations running around. Does that open doors? Not accusing anybody or even blaming, pushing, thinking that here in the city. But it doesn't give this council body the authority to even look at those purchases anymore. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
With this change, would it, if we were to adopt it, is it always going to be 3%, or will they vary it if we magically one year don't have over 3% inflation?
So my understanding is that the states change that from time to time. Right now, it's a flat 3%. That's open to change at any given time from a legislative process. I do think it's. Did that answer? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to share Councilman Malta's concerns. When I ran for council, the people that sent me here were big on fiscal conservatism and watching their tax dollars. I'm not concerned about our current administration misusing our tax dollars at all. I think they do a wonderful job of managing it. We have the awards to back it up. But I do think over a longer period of time, nickel and diming, climbing quickly is how you lose that efficiency. And as a fiscal conservative, I have my concerns with this particular piece of legislation. So that's all I have to say. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Mr. Gaffey?
I just had a question. As I'm reading the change in here, the proposed change where it says, let's see, for the previous calendar year increased by 3% as determined and published by the Director of Ohio Department of Commerce in accordance with RC 917. So does that mean that that percentage can fluctuate depending on the what gets determined and published by the Director of Commerce in the state of Ohio?
I guess potentially, but that wording is right out of the Ohio Revised
Sure.
Code. So they said that's exactly what they said, 3% as published by.
Okay.
And that's what this is. This was right off their
Okay.
website, which shows what it would be for this year, 79,568. So I think the only other thing that I think Mr. Malta wasn't here is this basically just conforms us to what every other statutory township, village, county, or city that's statutory.
Sure.
So, and this was only brought back because Mr. Abernathy reached out to me and said, hey, wasn't there something we didn't adopt last year? And I said, yeah, everything was adopted except this one piece. And so I asked if, would you like me to bring that back forward? And, he said, yes, you go ahead and bring that back. So that's the only reason you see it is
Sure.
that was requested.
Okay.
it'll cut down the number of things you might see a little bit. I mean, I think I shared that last memo, that we did a year or so ago when we adopted the previous, and so there's a list of things that hover around that 75,000 so it might cut back on a few items, that come here, but probably not a lot.
Joel, can you tell us what sort of internal oversight there is on that? I mean, I know at that level, at $75,000, it then comes before council, but I assume not everybody in the administration has a blank check. So what level are, I mean, it's one thing to run out, you've got to go out and buy, a box of paper, or like, what are the thresholds that are in place for that?
Andre could probably speak to some of the controls more than I could.
We got tons of internal controls. So, for example, if I was going to go buy whatever, $75,000 car or whatever, say for example, or I'll say computer because I'm a bean counter kind of guy. So I got to show that I've had 3 quotes. Number one, for and if it's possible. So I'll show my 3 quotes, and I'll go at the lowest and best bidder. If I don't, I have to provide an explanation of why I chose not to go with the lowest best bidder. And then it goes through not just my review. Let's see, I think there's 4 reviews. There's whoever's in charge, probably most likely Joel, or they also could report to Phil. And that goes through a couple other reviews in my department. And then obviously when the goods are whatever is purchased, we match up whatever's purchased with the invoice, but it actually came in. So there's several checks and balances.
That we're audited on.
Yeah. I mean,
And then you see those things in the budget. We put, any of those items in the.
Yeah, you would also, you're talking about, you have the power purse, you have the power to, I guess in the fall or winter in December to approve the budget, that we lay all that out in the capital portion of the budget. So it's not like you wouldn't see that. And I mean, if somebody wanted to steal something, they could bring it to council, and they could also scam city council. I could bring a, $1 million swimming pool bid to you, and you could approve it. I could collaborate with somebody. So just because it is approved by council doesn't mean that something's not going to happen. It's all the internal controls that are set up to prevent that from happening that we've done over time. So,
Understood, but we are here to scrutinize that as well and help the prevention of the fraud.
No.
yeah.
And
That's
just,
really our job. We're elected to do that. So that's my biggest hesitation. I mean, you brought it right back to me and stated
How many times
it. Because our governor came out and said,
Can you cite that? How many times council has prevented fraud over the last 3 years?
no, and I'm not trying to cite that in any way, shape, or form. Just stating that we were elected to
I'm just
do so.
curious.
and just make it clear, the administration does not have strong feelings on this one. We were asked to bring this back. The old system was that, I don't know what the number was before, $50,000, but, over time, as a result of inflation, periodically, that limit got raised. And if, just recently, they gave you the option of allowing you to have an inflationary factor in there, and we'll do fine without it, and all it just means is that, depending on how inflation goes, but 5 years from now or 10 years from now, some future council and administration will be raising that 75, in all likelihood, asking to raise that threshold to a figure that's appropriate for current conditions. So it just, to some extent, it saves, and again, probably saves council as much time as it saves administration. But
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, we had a $50,000 threshold for at least the first 10 years have been on council, and then at one point it was raised to 75,000. And then the state just put this adder in, probably from the standpoint of not having to go back and raise it again. At this point, they're assuming with a 3% adder, it's just going to continue. But the reality of it is to the point, we've had, 10 pieces of additional legislation last year that resulted around the $75,000 threshold excess. So realistically, what the real discussion is at this point, we're looking at potentially a dozen pieces of legislation that we may look at in 26 that we wouldn't look at with this with approval of this, we're going to have no additional pieces of legislation. Without approval of this, we might see 12 more pieces of items that we have to discuss. And at this point, usually the discussion points over the spending threshold of $75,000 are usually budgeted items anyway, so at this point, it's usually a very low discussion point anyhow. So at this point, I mean, if we feel we've had the discussion we're going to have, we're going to, what say you, Mr. Paul?
Well, I believe this is the second reading.
Yes, it is.
We do not have enough for a suspension of rules, is my understanding.
No, actually, we do.
We do?
Yes, we do.
Okay, then I say I move to suspend the rules and vote.
All right, motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Warden. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
No.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Warden? Yes. Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Okay, well, with the one no vote, we do not have enough to suspend the rules, so at this point, we'll just say that this piece of legislation has had its second reading this evening.
Thank you.
So there we go. All right, final unfinished business, Resolution 2026-05. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Resolution number 2026-05, a resolution to adopt and implement a cybersecurity program for the City of Worcester in compliance with Ohio cybersecurity law and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Vizet, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, something else, just rather boilerplate. The city has developed and must keep on hand a cybersecurity program, which Andre informed us at the last meeting we have on file. If any council members would like to review it, just schedule time with him. For obvious reasons, it's not being released. And then this will just be available, it's an internal document essentially and a plan that should anything happen. No reason to hold this up, and I would motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Huzay, a second by Mr. Paul. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Warden? Yes.
Mr. Huzay,
Motion to adopt.
motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Owens. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Huzay?
Yes.
Mr. Malta?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Warden? Yes.
All right, resolution is approved. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business. Ordinance 2026-05. As the mayor stated previously, this will be a three-reading item that will be introduced by Mr. Huzay. Before that, Ms. Hamilton, if you'll please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2025-20. What year is it? Ordinance number 2026-05. An ordinance accepting the petition for annexation of territory located on Silver Road, commonly known as Wayne County Auditor Permanent Parcel Numbers 53-01608.001, 53-01608.000, 53-01647.000, 53-01876.000, 53-00453.000, 53-01608.002, 57-00039.001, 57-00135.000, 57-00039.000, and 57-00118.000 to the City of Worcester in accordance with Revised Code Section 709.04.
Well, thank you for that.
Do you need some oxygen?
It's something.
Ribbit.
Mr. Huzay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, if you're not growing, you're dying. And this is a pretty big annexation request here. This is the final stage of the process as we've been kind of in the know and working through this and approved the initial phase of this last September. 200, just shy of 250 acres that the property owners would like to annex into the City of Worcester at the Silver Road, not quite intersection with McAfee, but kind of in between the McAfee and the Venture Boulevard area. The property owners would like to get this annexed into the city of Worcester limits with the anticipated goal of developing residential, residential development there. So this kind of meets our goals as a city overall, meets the comprehensive plan. With the new zoning code regulations that we approved at the last meeting, this could fit approximately 500 houses, which would be that would cut into the housing deficit that we've been experiencing, not just here in Worcester and Wayne County, but across the nation as well. Win-win-win, I think. This is a slam dunk, and, I would welcome anybody with open arms who wants to annex into the city. I think it's obviously a great place to live and work. Any further questions in the weeds and the details? Mr. Millay is here, Mr. Millay is here to answer more of the specifics.
Mr. President? Nope. I'd like to ask Chief Fisher how the emergency services are equipped to engage this.
It's, anytime we annex a piece of property, my response is always this: you annex it in and there's nothing on it, it doesn't affect me at all.
Fantastic.
But it depends on what goes in. Retail brings theft, for example. Housing doesn't really strain police very much because there's not much crime going on in residential neighborhoods.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Not going
Can I add a little bit, since Mr. Huzai referenced, a piece of legislation back last September. So just for the new people on council, the way that works is when a petition is made to the city for annexation, it does come here, and that's what happens at that time. All of our internal divisions have to review that and decide, can we provide services, which is police, fire, maintenance, water and sewer, what would it take to do that? And then that's what council then votes on and sends to the county is, yes, we resolve that we can serve that, either as it is now, or we're willing to serve it by, if we had to, adding water, sewer, those kind of things. So that's what goes down to the county, then they review that before they make their decision and send it back to us.
And the county had no issues with this annexation either, did they, Joel?
No.
Or no public comments came,
No, and part of the reason is because we did look at our comprehensive plan, they look at their comprehensive plan, and farmland preservation is something, that both of us are very interested in. And one of what their comprehensive plan says, if there is going to be development, it should happen in and around or adjacent to cities, because they can provide those utilities. And as Jonathan has mentioned, we did the calculations, and you referenced this as well. A similar sized parcel that isn't served by utilities will be split up into very large parcels, and you might get 35 lots as opposed to 500. All right, so the thought is you're meeting the demand for housing there that way, and thus lessening it out in the county.
Thank you.
I can add to that a little bit, because Jonathan and I went to the commissioners' meetings where they first had a public hearing on this, and then I think at the subsequent meeting, they actually voted on it. And the only persons or group that showed up was the neighbor to the immediate south. This is on the Killbuck. And the downstream neighbors, so the farmers there, the Alexanders, if you're familiar with that area, they raise issues just making, they're concerned about stormwater runoff, and wanted to know about that. And that's certainly a legitimate issue. And we just talked through that a little bit, saying, that's something that'll be addressed when it goes through planning. They don't need to do anything now just to annex it. It's when you go to develop it, and that you have to go through the planning and provide all the engineering for that type of thing. So they were satisfied with that. And
Well, the bigger issue, Mr. Paul, I would anticipate is as the city keeps adding residential to the western end, it might change the way that our fire departments are able to respond to that. I don't think we're there yet, but I would be more concerned about fire coverage on that end as opposed to police coverage.
To clarify, I was just worried about immediate. We're pretty good at planning here. We'll be all right. So,
But in the one question I had, I guess I'll ask Jonathan right now. You had mentioned 500 houses, and again, it all depends on how it's developed. But I think Jonathan had thrown out a higher number, correct?
Yes, so it could be substantially more. The 500 would be roughly average for what we're seeing develop in the area, assuming that we're not encroaching on any of the heavier terrain on the site. So when you take a look at the property, it's a beautiful site. If you're coming into the city, from the west, this is going to be the first part of the city that you get to see. But there is quite a bit of terrain. And so we would expect that area would probably still continue to stay a view toward conservation. And the flatter areas would be where those 500 homes would largely go.
Well, and the market will also bear out kind of what happens on this acreage.
Correct.
If 10 years from now, there's 650 homes on that, we didn't lie to you. It's just, it all depends. 500 is probably a good guess, but what it actually turns out is going to be the hands of the developers, the market, and the owners.
So going to a recent service, right, we spent $20,000 to clear out downtown from snow, right? We would need to put more effort into clearing the road going out there and then, leaf pickup, right? Do we have an idea if there's suddenly 500 homes out there, how much more money the city might be spending on those types of services?
No, I don't know exactly what that number is. It's not an apples to apples to compare what we move out of downtown versus the rest, because we do very little other than cul-de-sacs in the rest of the town, so we wouldn't be hauling out loads of snow from that area. It would be the similar to any other
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, but the trend in Worcester, as far as residential development goes, seems to be towards the HOA model, where we wouldn't cover some or all of that.
Again, just depends on how it's each way, and they would be doing some of that, I think, public streets and.
And I'd have to assume that new development would have relatively few old growth trees that produce at least in the short term.
That's fair.
And everybody pays for their services, so if it does develop, then each one of those individuals would be paying for their utilities and for their leaf pickup. So that would fund those services.
Jonathan, are you able to say, I think last we talked about this, the answer was no, but is there a developer immediately interested in this property, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no. I understand from the property owner or the prime petitioner that they have consulted with 5 or more housing developers. They, with the scale of site that they have, we asked in coordination with the Wayne Economic Development Council, could we help you share some information on this? And the response we got back was, we haven't taken any, serious look at marketing yet. We want to know if we can have the ability to annex, because that'll tell us whether or not we can look at something like a utility subdivision. And so once we have assurances that we can go in that direction, then we would like to really try to market the site to some national home builders. One of the things that comes out of the Wayne County Housing Needs Assessment is that a lot of our national-based home builders, Pulte and so forth, they're typically wanting a minimum 100 acres to consider before they start investing time into analysis. So we haven't been able to market to those before. But my understanding is that at this point, they have a plan of several different groups that they'd like to approach, but they have not indicated that they've identified anybody that they would be going with.
Yes.
So you mentioned in our email back and forth that, for there to be 500 homes, we'd have to have significant improvement to the roads, the water. You mentioned that developers are generally responsible for that. Can you speak to what might make it so a developer is not responsible for that, where it might fall back on the city?
So there can be opportunities when you have a housing development that is going to require some off-site infrastructure. We have utilized tools such as tax increment financing in the case of Spring Run and Clear Creek. And in both those instances, we have existing needs for infrastructure even before the development arrives. And with the development, that infrastructure that's there today gets taxed even more in terms of use and constraints. Tax increment financing in this scenario, when you're using it for residential, it allows us the opportunity to do a public-private partnership where we can facilitate some off-site infrastructure. Now, state law will allow us to pave roads right up to driveways and extend sanitary sewer lines right down residential roads. That's not our policy as a city from an economic development perspective. Normally, that's not going to be something that we would recommend outside of some very significant rehabilitation effort. Many communities do grant that. I think that we have enough to market ourselves on that we don't need to do that. But when it comes to off-site, a lot of times it can make sense. In the case of Spring Run, we were able to construct $8 million of off-site infrastructure that saw the installation of the Milltown Roundabout, the Oak Hill Roundabout, and sanitary sewer extension. And in doing that, that provided sanitary sewer service for our schools, and it opened up several other sites for future development beyond just the one Spring Run site. And the nice thing about that from a taxpayer standpoint is that we had it secured by a development agreement with the developer, or I should say a portion of that was financially secured. So in situations like that, it may make sense to have a partnership with the developer if we're looking at something like reconstructing Silver Road. Now, that being said, again, that depends on where we are with our comprehensive plan, and if this is a conversation we have 20 years from now and things have changed and it's not necessarily a strategic priority. When a developer wants infrastructure, that's great. That is their responsibility to provide that. But when there's the opportunity to advance, a public interest at the same time, using tax increment financing has been a really good tool for us. And I think that our use of it has been very middle of the road compared to how some other Ohio communities have utilized it. So again, with any time in that case, and we've talked about TIF before, TIF is usually an incentive for a city, but when it becomes an incentive for a developer, like with any incentive, it's a case-by-case analysis.
Okay, thank you. And how many times have we used a TIF?
We have utilized it 3 times in recent memory.
And it's basically been in the last 5 years, or less.
Yeah, most recent ones have been in the last 5 years.
We did do a TIF 20 years ago out at Guyers Chapel and Long Road, where we improved Guyers Chapel, Long Road, and the water and sewer out there. That was industrial area. That was Buckeye Container, I think, at the time, but we have since had lots of other development that's happened out there.
Well, yeah, Wooster Growth was involved in that because that was probably part of Buckeye Container and Tech Ford.
Right.
I guess it was Tech Ford at that point in time.
That was probably the first TIF we did.
Yeah, it was. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2001.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think we sunset that a little early, and
Yeah,
I think
it did so well, yeah.
I want to say 08, we finished the paperwork.
Well, I think this is a slam dunk, and I'm ready to move forward with it. Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules, second by Mr. Paul. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Huzay.
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Mr. Paul.
Yes.
All right, rules are suspended.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaffey. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Huzay,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Mr. Paul.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you have to excuse me.
We now have 245.86 more acres. Fantastic. All right, next item, ordinance 2026-06, but before Ms. Hamilton reads it, I think Mr. Huzay is going to recuse himself.
Yeah, do you want me to do that now or wait till she reads it?
No, I might as well do it now.
Vacandius.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Hamilton.
Ordinance number 2026-06, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Compact LLC and Star Baker 2570 LLC for community reinvestment area tax incentives and allowing for immediate enactment.
All right. Mr. Paul, I guess I'll save you some time on this, and we'll just let Mr. Starlin speak, since at this point he probably wishes to anyways.
Yeah, guessed I'm a bet. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Justin Starlin, co-owner of Compact and Star Baker, and I brought the big hitter out tonight, Jeff Baker. He is my business partner in both ventures, but wanted just a couple of minutes. For the past 6 years, I can't believe it's been 6 years, we've been fortunate to grow our footprint locally. Today, we own and operate more than 2 million square foot of industrial space across Wooster, Wayne County, and in Ashland. Within the city of Worcester specifically, Star Baker and its affiliates currently rank among the top 6 real property taxpayers in the city of Worcester. With this project, we would rise to the second largest real property taxpayer of the city. We're proud of that. We share that not to boast, but to demonstrate how deeply invested we already are in the community and how significant this additional commitment would be. And the truth is, this project scale, it could be located in multiple jurisdictions. We've looked at those. The same building constructed outside of the city. As an example, in the Tri-Way School District, with the projected annual real property tax would be about $160,000. We project this to be about $250 million inside the city of Worcester. So a $90,000 difference, that does make a difference. That means a lot. There are also communities, including one where we are already operating, that offer incentives very aggressively. We're speaking passion. We'll talk about that. Developing within the city requires a meaningful upfront investment. The site is not shovel-ready, and it requires a significant amount of earthwork and preparation. And candidly, there are less expensive pathways if we wanted to do this building. Even so, we believe in reinvesting in Worcester. We value the infrastructure, the workforce, and the long-term stability of building inside the city. We also recognize the importance of aligning with the comprehensive plan, and we talked about it somewhat tonight, preserving farmland by not pushing development outwards from an industrial perspective. We are committed to, the application says, at least 10 new full-time jobs at the facility, with the potential of adding more as our service and company Compact grows. We're proud that we have about 50 employees company-wide, and hope to grow those numbers here and in the city of Ashland. And there's some people ask, what about this incentive? Does it make a difference? If this incentive is granted to us, yeah, it makes a heck of a difference. It provides meaningful financial support during the early years of a major capital investment, and it signals that the city supports projects of the scale. It also is supported, and it is a good site for financing for banks that say, wow, the city is in support of this endeavor. In the long term, this asset, the proposed asset, becomes a permanent asset and will generate substantial real property tax revenue for the city and also for the school districts specifically. So we appreciate the opportunity. Jonathan did a heck of a job, but he couldn't be able to, and we just appreciate the opportunity to, for your consideration this evening. Jeff, did I miss it? Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, any questions you might have, we'll dive into it.
Thank you.
Good.
Mr. Paul?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Starr and Mr. Baker, for joining us this evening. I think there are a couple things that we need to consider with this application. Number one, Starr Baker and Compact are proven commodities to the city of Worcester. They've invested regularly, they've provided jobs, and they've delivered on their promises. Secondly, we need to be honest with ourselves about competitive environment. Not only is there Ashland out there, but there are other communities around who would die to have a project like this in their city and to have the employees do it. From a financial aspect, let me start with this. This project was approved unanimously by the Wooster Growth Corporation. Superintendent Tudor was one of the voters on that. The immediate tax revenue increase on the abatement, even on the abated amount, is significantly higher than what the school system is getting. If we're truly serious about providing financial security and helping the school system establish what their goals are, this is a great step in the right direction. Ultimately, we're supporting local entrepreneurship, local businesses, local jobs in our local school systems. I find it very difficult to vote against this, and I would enthusiastically endorse it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments from council?
I have a question. Justin, perhaps you can just explain. So I know that you have 27 jobs that will be retained if this facility opens. I think that's what it said in your proposal. Are those coming from another facility in our community?
No, so they would be currently one of the facilities off of Enterprise.
Okay, so there's another facility that's losing 27 jobs in this case that would go.
No, so.
I see something on my periphery here.
Great question. But anytime we have a project where we have an existing firm that is making an expansion, and we have the same exact terms with Seaman Corporation, the commitment is not just for the new 10 jobs that are going to be committed, but for anybody else that we already have within the city of Worcester limits, we want to secure those jobs precisely to make sure that there isn't relocation that happens. So Compact is, in this case, going to be committing to the creation of 10 jobs, but the 27 jobs that exist in the city today with their payroll, all of that has to also be maintained in addition. And then that'll be reviewed annually each year with reporting from the company. We cross-check it with our income tax department and then share that with our tax incentive review council. But precisely for that reason, that's why we have this as a retention project as well to retain the existing employees.
Jennifer,
Thank you.
Ohio Revised Code 5709.671, communities may strategically utilize tax exemption to retain or increase employment opportunities within their own jurisdiction, provided that it results in a net gain or retention of employment within the state of Ohio. So they can't go down; they have to grow.
And I can appreciate that. I appreciate Compact's continued investment in the community. The importance of retaining those 27 jobs while creating 10 more is, I think, it has been stated, and that's probably why it's also involved in our revised code. Retention absolutely has value, and we want to remain a place where businesses can grow and succeed here, and I think that's exactly what these sort of incentives do. At the same time, I think it is a public investment, a tax incentive such as this, so we have a responsibility to ensure that the level of incentive is proportional to the community benefit. Given the size of the facility relative to the number of jobs, I think it is reasonable. I've kind of gone over the numbers a little bit, and I think if you look at it as 10 new jobs, it's very questionable. It's hard for me to overcome that, but when you think that there's 37 jobs there, I can do the math in my head, and it makes much more sense. So I'm happy to support this tonight.
Thank you.
It's been mentioned that there's extensive earthwork involved. Can you kind of walk us through that of what all will need to be involved to enable you to build the facility if we move forward?
The Clear Creek, you saw the dirt was moved out there. That was about 190,000 cubic yards of dirt that they moved out there. This is 170,000 cubic yards of dirt. So a lot of earthwork, significant. I could have bought the property for the amount of money that would have, it's going to require just to get that site down to the level site. We're basically built on a hill. So, and this is in West Virginia. So, we're spending a lot of money on that. That's where a lot of funds are going to go.
I can share one of the things we look at, because from a development standpoint, we have to approach this completely independently. We're working with Wayne Economic Development Council, County Planning Department on identifying our site inventory readiness for industrial and residential piece of that as well. So we've actually done a countywide analysis, taking a look at constraints, looking at things like slopes, floodplains, and trying, based on that, to identify preferred sites that can support industrial growth. The specific site here was not included in that inventory specifically because of the terrain. So that's one of the things that we also take a look at when somebody requests an incentive. Okay, well, why is it necessary? What is it that has to be overcome? Because this is a great economy, great market. And here we have over a 30-foot differential in terrain. And so that's just a tremendous amount of work that has to be done to prep that site that eats into a lot of profits to begin with. And so that's part of the reason why, from a development standpoint, we would look at this and say, if we would like to have the site developed with more than a couple small buildings, to have something of this scale, it's going to take a major investment. The other thing, too, selfishly for a community, we do receive a lot of inquiries in from Jobs Ohio on economic development leads throughout the state. And one of the biggest requests that are out there today are buildings that are between 100,000 to 150,000 square feet that are available for use. And we've observed even in our own community where we've had warehouses that committed to 10 jobs end up having a second life, being able to support another basic sector manufacturer who ended up putting in 30 or 40 new positions. So there is a value to the community beyond just the tax revenue that a structure like this would present, to also just have that industrial infrastructure that it can accommodate that type of industry. So from that development standpoint, all those factors together, we take a look at that and we say, okay, this is a big need that we have at the community, and this is what kind of, no pun intended, but levels the site so that we can, hopefully welcome additional projects.
So in addition to retaining 27 jobs, getting 10 more or more, right, we will also have a nice shiny facility that could be used if, heaven forbid, you all left, right? You have existing facilities. Will you stay in those as well? And this is a pure expansion to include that, or will we move from the one into the other?
Yeah, we have 5 facilities on Wooster. The mill is all full. We stay there. Build plans to sell, move. Yeah, this is just an expansion of Wiltern. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think your topography thing is important. I had a chance to drive out on Progress Drive today. Since we didn't have any snow, got to actually look at the property. And I think it's important to realize that if we're looking to develop that property and we want to do so with a proven commodity, we're going to have to do, nobody's going to come in for that property simply because of the earth moving piece. It's going to be very difficult to develop it. And, we're leaving a lot of potential money on the table that can go to support the school system, the Wayne County Community Career Center, in addition to the income tax base. So this is a good deal.
Can each of these blue lines, this 10 feet.
So when Jonathan said over 30 feet, so you correct me here, 10, 20, 30, 35 feet, property line brought this up there to a vacant flat.
Sure. Since we do not have enough, since Councilman Jose had to recuse himself, I don't believe we can suspend rules on
We
this.
cannot, so at this point, if we've discussed this to the point of refusal, then at this point, we'll say that it's had its first reading and we'll move on to our next piece of legislation. Thank you. Next item, and Mr. Jose will join us again. Next item, ordinance 2026-07. Ms. Hamilton, if you please read it for us.
Ordinance number 2026-07, an ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we all will take a look around since the snow has melted and see that the surfaces of our streets have taken a beating from the exceptional plowing that our city has done. With that safety, though, comes wear and tear. We received some good news from the Ohio Department of Transportation that we were granted a grant for $142,550 over and above what our budget is. And what this particular piece of legislation is designed to do is to put it to work so that we can get back to resurfacing our streets. So it's money from the state, it's over and above what we've budgeted, and it's designed to improve the streets that have taken a beating over the last 2 months. So, any questions on that?
Just to clarify, it is essentially free money specifically just for resurfacing streets.
Yes. Joel, you want to give a little background on who was responsible for getting that to us?
So every year, we get allotted a certain amount of money for our streets, that's the large cities program. We get roughly $500,000 a year, which is allotted to us. So that came back to us. You've got already approved the project to go out to bid for all the streets that are eligible for that money. They came back to us and said, hey, we have another $142,000, and would you like to have it? So we have to come before you to actually accept that money and then put that in to the budget for the purpose of that.
Approximately how many more streets will this, or how much more footage might this help us repave that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise?
Trying to make, it's typically resurfacing with it, so we usually do about $1 million, and it's usually between a mile or 2 miles total ultimate, so, maybe half a mile or so.
So this will be used for additional paving. It's not going to take money out of what we've already budgeted and put it back into the general fund or anything like that? Okay. And these streets will, because I know the city maintains like a priority level, these will just come off the top for next year? Is that kind of how we're?
If you look at your budget, you'll see a whole list of like, in the 10-year plan, and we always back out to those. Initially, we might put in 10 streets, we balance the budget, we might only do 2.
And I think I'm right in saying that it's also a function of how the bids come in too. Correct. How far the money's going to go.
Materials costs continue to increase. This helps offset some of it.
Yep.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jose. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the suspension of the rules.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Mr. Jose.
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Move to approve.
motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Owen. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey,
Yes.
Mr. Jose.
Yes.
Right. Thank you all. Last piece of legislation this evening, Resolution 2026-08. Ms. Hamilton, if you'll please read it for us.
Resolution number 2026-08, A resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a contract with the Wooster YMCA for professional administrative services related to the management and operation of the City of Worcester swimming facilities and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Owens, the floor is yours.
Yes, so this is to continue our, excuse me, our contract with the YMCA, which has been running for approximately 17 years now, right? They provide us with lifeguards and managers, cashiers for all of the various aquatic facilities in town. Last year, they provided 40 staff members, and they worked over 7,000 hours. So, any questions or anything extra that I need to mention?
I was just going to mention that Nikki Fehrenbach, the CEO of the YMCA, is here tonight as well, and I do genuinely appreciate our partnership that we have with the YMCA, and that we really have a shared vision of operating and providing safe and enjoyable aquatic facilities, and we could not do that without this partnership. So it is one that I really appreciate and hope to continue.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, the YMCA does a great job managing the pools. I remember and was in town when the previous entity gave it a stab, and that was a nightmare to say the least. Just generally, though, city pools aren't going anywhere, the Y's not going anywhere. At what point can we make this a multi-year deal, if to the extent that we can? Just for the sake of efficiency, I guess.
And talk to the Y and see what
Okay.
you want to do, and present something to you
Okay.
next year.
And it'll be a dash and so.
Yeah, because it seems like this is going to be, I mean, unless there's a major stumble, which I wouldn't anticipate, I mean, this has been a fantastic program for us since we initiated it. And the reality of it is, again, not that it's an issue to do it annually, but to the point, I mean, if it makes it easier on everybody to do a multi-year deal, then at this point, I think there's probably a level of comfort based on at least comments so far. So with that, Mr. Owens,
As it is budgeted, motion to adopt?
motion to adopt, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaffey. Ms. Hamilton, please call the roll on the adoption.
Mr. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Malta,
Yes.
Mr. Paul,
Yes.
Ms. Warden, Mr. Huzay,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffey.
Yes.
Okay. We have our contract. Excellent. Move on to miscellaneous. With this, we have one person that signed up, Mr. Barnett.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I understand the roundabouts may work well on paper in the ideal conditions, but we live in a community that just had a major storm. My question is simple. How will the roundabout be safely maintained during heavy snow and ice? And let me remind you, that area up there drifts really bad. That's why the city's got a snow beds to light the sun fields. That wind will come down, old man. I work for the school system, and our job before we got off sets, I worked third shift, was to clear the snow out 10 feet. I'm like, oh man, I gotta do this snow, now I gotta go home. Go home, there'll be hardly any snow. I looked out on Billiard. It's a snow belt of Wooster. Anyhow, what is the plan for plowing in the ice in the snowstorm? And does the city have the equipment and budget to handle it properly? Because if winter maintenance isn't correctly designed, it could create safety issues for residents' properties, pedestrians, and their students that have to cross for bank roads. Emergency vehicles, and especially our newer and older drivers. We got a lot of new drivers going to high school. Some of them, that's their first day of driving. Oh, fair 7 miles. I did the same thing. I said, go ahead. Before moving forward, we need to a clear answer of how it will function in the real world in wet winter conditions, conditions and perfect conditions. And I'd like to say, thank you, Andy, and whoever else is involved to improve the hearing for the hearing impaired. So
have to take another step, I'm glad I don't. I don't want to be back. I don't. I just want to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I forget from week to week which we start with, so I guess we'll start with Mr. Jose this evening.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to wish everybody a happy Ash Wednesday and Lenten season coming up. This year, I'm going to try to give up my phone for the duration of Lent, so we'll see how that goes.
Good for you.
I will be accepting calls if you guys need to call me, so don't worry about that. But if I'm on edge the next 40, 50 days, that's why. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. President. We've already touched on the open houses for the opening of the hospital. I had a little different experience. I had to go to the hospital yesterday. And I just wanted to comment how proud I am of the team that we have in our hospital. The empathetic professionalism that I received from staff members, and I'll try to remember as many of them as I can, Noel, Mike, Alessandra, Denise, Kylie, were just amazing. But what I also want to do is I want to let you know that I had a 3-hour wait to get in and a 4-hour wait to get out. And when I got in and when I got out, they were lined up out the door. Never has it been more apparent that we needed this facility to me than having experienced it personally. And I want to congratulate the hospital, and I look forward to us being able to better serve the community on February 25th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gaffey?
All right, well, I really don't have much for tonight. Just want to say, thank you, Mr. Barnett, for coming and sharing your feelings and opinions. I think it's, great that we have a opportunity to do that. And as a public coming and doing that is, we always appreciate that. So glad to be back. And that's really about it. Looking forward to it warming up. So.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Warden?
I have nothing to add.
Mr. Malta?
I'll try and keep it quick here with everybody else. But yeah, as always, thank you for all those in attendance and watching us tonight. And I'll leave it at that.
Very good. Mr. Owens?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching online. I hope everyone has enjoyed this preview of spring. I know I certainly have. In addition to Fat Tuesday and Lent, I want to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year and a blessed start to Ramadan. And also, thank you to Mr. Paul for coming to our food drive on Saturday at the library. We ended up collecting over 1,400 pounds of food, and we're able to distribute it to 50 people at the library, and we'll continue to stock local food pantries in town. And with that, that's it for me.
Very good. Thank you. And with that, I have nothing to add, so do I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.